Okay, so arguably the most important foundational principle of learning the drums, which I teach to all my students, is learning the anatomy of the kit, making sure you know where to put your sticks and your feet when the time comes to actually play. And so I'll have my kids, if they had previous experience, I'll have them name them for me. But if they don't, then I'll teach it to them, and then we'll play a little guessing game where I point to each one and they tell me which one it is. So assuming that you're a beginner. Okay, the first piece of equipment that I'd like to discuss is the drum throne. Now my drum throne might look a little bit different to yours. They can look like this or like this, but generally this is what you're gonna get. It's a little stool, it's flat, it doesn't have a back. It's so you can sit up straight and make sure you have good posture while playing the drums. Now it's important because obviously you can't play the drum set standing, so you need something to sit on. But generally they're pretty simplistic. You can generally adjust the little knobs there to raise it or lower it. Okay, in terms of positioning, you generally want your drum throne obviously in front in this little slot. You see how the drum set kind of creates an arc with the electric ones, and then for the acoustic ones you'll have them set up in the particular order that you like. But generally there's a format. You have we'll talk about it later for the different specific drums. But you want to have easy access. The most important thing is to have easy access to the pedals. And we'll talk about the pedals in a second, but I'll show you what proper positioning looks like from the outside. Generally, this is what we're looking for. See, my right leg has ample space to be able to use the kick drum, and my left leg has ample space here, but it's not too close. I still have a little bit of distance so I can lean back, lean forward, kind of do whatever. Okay, the next piece of equipment that I'd like to discuss is the snare drum. Now the snare drum on my kit is the only one that is colored white. And it generally makes a sound like this. Now it's going to sound a little different. You have an acoustic drum set, and it may look a little bit different too. It's probably going to be on the floor as its own drum instead of connected to a larger frame. So it'll probably look like this or this. Another thing to keep in mind, it is also important that you tighten your snare drum. So oftentimes you'll have a little octagonal or hexagonal little like bit that you can screw in and tighten all these little screws around the same. It's the same with an acoustic set. And I'll have a separate video showcasing how to do that in the introductory sense. But generally you want it as tight as possible without being to the point where if you hit it a lot, it'll break. Okay, next we have the hi-hat. The hi-hat is also your bread and butter. It is what your right hand will be playing a majority of the time. And it's really interesting because it has, unlike the other cymbals, it has this pedal that allows you to control the sound that it makes. And so the hi-hat will generally make a sound like this. Now, notice down here, my foot is on the pedal right now. And so generally, when you're playing a basic backbeat, a lot of the time you want your foot to be straight on that pedal and just weighing down. So you get the normal sound. Now notice as I let my foot go, I'm just going to take it completely off just for demonstration. It'll make this sound. Now on an actual hi-hat, it'll probably look something like that. An actual hi-hat will have two separate cymbals rather than this just one head. It'll have two separate cymbals, and letting go of the pedal physically opens the two cymbals, which makes them rattle against each other, which is why it makes that sound. Next, I want to talk about these three drums. They're going to be the root of a lot of the fills that we focus on, and potentially could be the root of a lot of beats that you can play, but we're not going to focus on those as they're generally later in your sort of drumming timeline. Now, these top two drums are named the tom-toms. One is a little bit higher than the other, and I'll show you the sort of sounds that they make. Generally, in an acoustic drum set, they'll look like this and this. And so they're super useful because you can play on them throughout fills and throughout your beats to sort of switch it up and whatever. The one closer to the ground on your far right side, which should sort of be a little bit further to the right than your right thigh when you're playing, is called the floor tom. Now generally it'll look something like this on an acoustic drum set, and it again is very close to the floor, and you'll play it on a lot of fills and some more advanced beats that we'll learn. This is an example of the high tom. This is another example of the high tom. High tom is just another word for tom-tom. And this is an example of the floor tom. you'll notice that it kind of progresses in terms of its frequency or the note that it makes. So it's just higher, a little bit lower, a lot lower. Now the second symbol I'd like to talk about is the ride cymbal. Now the ride cymbal is pretty self-explanatory. It's used a lot for jazz beats, which we won't really cover in this introductory course, but it's super nice because you can sort of switch it up from the hi-hat and make a different sound. And you can't do it on this one because it's electric, but on a normal ride cymbal that looks something like that, there's like a bell in the middle, sort of like this, and it makes sort of a bell sound. And so you can kind of experiment with that and weave that into your fills or into your normal beats. Now the ride cymbal sounds something like this. Now the third and final cymbal that I like to talk about on a standard drum kit is something called the crash. Now the crash is super, super important along with sort of the rest of the drum kit. It is your final note that you play after every single fill. Now, if you don't know what a fill is, that's okay. I'll explain it. We'll have a whole video on it and some introductory ones that I can show you. But the crash is used to accentuate super, super heavy beats, or in order to sort of get that last note after a fill to accentuate a transition as a part of the song. Now, a crash is generally played in conjunction with the kick drum, but I'll show you what it sounds like without. Now this is with the kick drum. Now, last but not least is the kick drum. This kick drum is a lot smaller than a lot that you'll see because it's electric and it just needs that little pad to sense everything. Generally, a kick drum will look something like this, but it's nice because I can kind of move it around and fiddle with it, whatever. But generally, the anatomy is the same. You have this little drum head right here and a pedal that triggers it and leads it to accelerate towards the drum head, which makes a loud boom. It sounds something like this. Now we'll cover the uses of all these drums, especially in our basic backbeat video, but as for now, we're just going to go over the names one more time. The seat that you're sitting in is called the drum throne. This drum right here is called the snare drum. It sounds like this. This one is called a high tom or a tom-tom. This one, a floor tom, or a low tom, you could call it. This one is the ride cymbal. The crash cymbal. The hi-hat, closed and open. And the kick drum.